One of my most popular videos for 2024 was what will happen in the Toronto real estate market over the next 6 months. And in that video, we broke down how the active listings drop off going into the new year and start to pick up into the spring market. For this video, we're going to break down what exactly that could mean if you're either a seller or a buyer and how to prep for your strategy going into 2025. I'm Michael Ouzas. I'm a realtor here in the city of Toronto. If you wanted to break down your personal strategy on how to set yourself up for success in 2025, we are accepting bookings into January for a New Year's strategy session. You click on that first link down below and book in a time that's convenient for you. Breaking down the active listings and how they usually fall off at the start of the year is something that we have seen for basically the last 20 years for Toronto real estate. And it's been consistent going through December now and heading into 2025. If you need a quick refresher of the last video, we discussed the last 20 years and how active listings would always fall off November, December, and heading into January. And this year has been no different. We're only going back 2 years for this video, but we have been seeing the same amount of trends here in December. And if you've been waiting for detached properties to come up in the city of Toronto, we have not seen very many come up in this month. Same with semi-detached, especially in those prime areas. So if you're a buyer looking for those areas, we really haven't seen great inventory so far this month. If we take a look at last year around this time, or even going back to 2022, this is where we see those active listings drop off quite significantly from the month of October. Looking here, 8,400 active listings in October 2023, and that went down to about 5,167 December 2023. We don't have the December numbers officially as of yet, but what we've been seeing in November this year is that we're down to about 8,500 active listings through the end of November, and in September we had 10,118. So that's about a 2,000 listing drop. And one nice thing about this chart is we can actually divide that from condos to houses. So if you're a seller looking to make a move in 2024, this is where, when we think about strategy, think about when listings fall off in this range here. If you're one of the first to be able to get to market here in the new year, you will generally see quite a bit of activity for your property, especially through January, February. And I would anticipate the same story here as we go into 2025. So if you are a seller considering making a move in 2025, that January, February, March may be the time for you. Let's start off with condos here. And if we take a look at only condos, out of those 8,500 active listings, almost 5,000 of them are condos. And that's a big amount. And this is Toronto wide. So we're not looking at a specific area. We're just looking at Toronto for the sake of this video. If you're a buyer looking to get into the market and you are considering a condo, having 5,000 active listings going through the month of December, there are definitely choice out there. That being said, we are starting to see a bit of momentum for the best properties that are priced super well or super aggressively. And we're also seeing room for negotiation here on a lot of these properties as they've been sitting on the market through October, November, and December. Now, if you have a detached property in the city of Toronto, and if you remember, we have 8,500 active listings through the end of November, there are about 2,000 of them that are detached properties. So that's not a very big sample size. You're looking at about 25% are detached. And if we take a look at semis, that number gets even less, where we're looking at about 400 semi-detached properties in the entire city of Toronto available through the end of November. And once we get these December numbers, we will see how things play out. And as we get through the month of December, we'll also see how all three of these property types start to get absorbed going through the new year. So you might be wondering what that means for price, and totally understandable. Everybody wants to sell for the highest price. And if we take a look at the ebbs and flows of the market in January 2022, that average price in and around kind of somewhere between 800 to 850, and that shot up around $1 million pretty quickly here into the start of 2022. And then we saw that transaction price lower down as interest rates started going up here through 2022 as well, and kind of right back to where it was at the start of the year. And then we saw some ebbs and flows throughout the next part of the year. And if you take a look at January 2023, as rates were kind of hovering around a stable level, kind of where things are at today from an interest rate number standpoint, we did see pricing start to increase here through the start of 2023 and get pretty good momentum. Now you might be wondering if when to sell is right at this time. And well, obviously the goal is to get the most amount of money for your sale. You want to be careful to not time this too late and then be on the downward trend into the summer market. And if you look at the last chart that we showed and the next chart we're going to show about months of inventory, being in that sweet spot on the way up will generally get you a really attractive price for your property. And if you wait just a touch too long, that may change really quickly, especially as more inventory does come to market, because as people start seeing prices go up, they will generally also put their properties on the market. Take a look at where things went into January 2024. Some of the lowest pricing we've seen in the last couple of years, and that's always transaction price as a whole. But as we kept going through the start of 2024, we saw that pick up quite quickly into May, and then again softened through the summer months, which was a very slow time for Toronto real estate. And we got a little bit of a pop here in the fall, but then we've settled back in at the end of the year. And this is also property type dependent. So if we take a look at the detached market only, we're seeing prices here hit a high of almost 1.7 and then leveled out as we went through, and then up to 1.5, leveled out again. So that's where we do want to keep in mind, if you are considering selling in 2025, being somewhere on this trend on the way up may serve you a little bit better than being on this way on the way down. So something to consider if you are looking to make a move in 2025. Let's jump back over to months of inventory. And this is the metric, if you've been watching this channel, that we always follow, as it is generally a great leading indicator of where the market is headed. And especially if you have a property to sell or a property to buy, this will tell you what kind of market you are in and where exactly your pricing should be or strategy could be. If you're looking at January 2022, and if you remember the craze of that start of 2022, we had less than 1 month of inventory. Generally, 2 is the number where we start to see offer dates. Once you start getting below 1, these properties are selling extremely fast for extremely high pricing. And we did see that at the start of 2022. As we went through 2022, interest rates started to climb up. We saw inventory go up to 3, which put us almost into a balanced market right away. That kind of hovered all the way through the start of 2023, where months of inventory started coming down. We had interest rates in and around where they are today. And we got down to about 1.5 months of inventory on average for the city of Toronto across all property types. This was definitely led by semi-detached properties, which did not have very much inventory there in the start of 2023. As we went through the year, we did see that number also shoot up here, up into around 4.5 months of inventory for November. And as we discussed how active listings start to come off the market, we saw that months of inventory come down quite a bit. And this is one of the biggest things when thinking about strategizing for your property. If you're a seller looking to make a move in 2025, listing your property earlier versus later may be very beneficial for you. If last year was any indication, and we have months of inventory come down here into the low 2s, and depending on your property type, this also makes a difference. This is generally when you will get the most attention on your property, as there's not a ton of listings out there, but the buyers are starting to get their wheels going, especially after the new year. If you are a seller that's also going to be buying, being able to negotiate a long closing is one of the easiest things we can negotiate. So if you are looking to list in January, February and sell your property and get a closing into May or June, that 4-month closing is a much easier negotiation at the start of the year. And that'll also set you up if you are looking to purchase. We generally see the best inventory in the spring market. You'll know exactly what you're able to shop for and be ready to go when that property that hits all your criteria comes to market as well. One of the things that does come up is that most buyers and sellers want to wait till March, April, and May, as they think they're going to get the most amount of money for their property. We did see the transaction prices go up in those months, and that's true. However, if you are looking to make a move and you start to get more competition out there, that number falls off quite a bit between May and June. So if you miss that pocket by even just a couple of weeks, you may not actually get the sale price you were looking for, or you may also sit on the market longer as more inventory generally comes up in May and June. And we're seeing this here, 3 months of inventory in April. And if last year is a good sample size, if we look at months of inventory, February 2.6. So you're still kind of in that offer date or very much a seller's market, which kind of starts at the number 2. Into April, you're looking around 3 months of inventory. And then May and June, you're up to 4 months of inventory. If you're competing for the buyers at 4 months of inventory with your property, they will have more choice because that is very much a balanced market. Heading into the new year, and once we get those December numbers, happy to share those with you if you want. This is at 3.75 through the end of November. I anticipate we'll be somewhere in this range, probably around 3 going into the new year once we get that final data for 2024. So there you have it as a follow-up from the last video. And if you're a seller, being ready to go to market January, February, March may actually be very advantageous for you, especially if you're looking to make a move or head into buyer territory right after. If you're a buyer looking to get into the market, there's actually 2 two ways to look at it. You could start shopping sooner than later and being ahead of a potential rush of buyers, especially with those new mortgage rules coming into play, if that is where your budget is looking between 1 and 1.5. That being said, you may also get more inventory going into July, August, and September. Now, if that's the timeline that doesn't work for you, I would recommend getting those ducks in a row sooner than later so you can be ahead of the buyers that have those New Year's resolutions, or they're kind of getting ready to make a move in February, March, and April. If you're in the market and actually seeing what's happening, what properties are selling for, what the competition looks like, it will definitely give you an upper hand and some advantage versus buyers getting in the market a bit later and they're just figuring out what those properties are selling for as they start entering competition for the most prominent property types in the city. And lastly, you don't have to do this alone. You can click on that link down below to book in a New Year's strategy session so we can set you up for success. I'm Michael Ouzas. Thanks for watching.